Are you trying to get hired by a developer company, or are you trying to hire a developer company? Make sure to check out this video, and while you are at it, make sure to like, subscribe, because in this video we are going to tackle all of that. This video will be split into two. Now the first part is about thinking that you are going to hire a development company. The second part is that you are actually the developer, or well, you are part of a developer company, and what you have to take a look at, what you have to be aware of, and some tips and tricks here and there. I will give you 5 tips for each of them, so let's just jump right into the first one, and that is iOS development company, the hiring part. So this part is about you trying to hire a development company for you to build out your app idea. Now, the first tip I have, let me just go here, is that you have to know your needs. It's not about the app idea. You have to know what your needs are in terms of building out this app. Like, what will this app basically do? What are the main features? What are the little details in those features? What kind of UI will it have? What will be the marketing part of it? Do you have inside the app some marketing? So make sure that you know your needs, because when you are trying to for a developer company, you want to rinse out all the bad eggs. You want to know which features or which qualities this development app company needs to have in order to build out your app needs. So you need to know your needs. My second tip is you have to take a look at your app, your whole project, and you have to decide whether you want to hire a small, a medium, or a large app development company. Now, of course, it's not just about the size of the app. You have to consider that maybe a small development company has just a few developers, or maybe just one developer, and they might not have all the expertise that is required for your app. Of course, you have to ask. That's the first thing. You have to ask, are you expert in these and these fields? Because these and these fields are needed in my project. Now, medium-sized companies tend to have a few more developers that are more specialized in those fields, and work tends to move faster because, more developers, but it tends to be much more precise, much more, they do have their expertise. And it tends to be more expensive, but on the long run, just think of it. If you hire a small company, then maybe it takes much time, and if you are paying them by the hour, then it will cost maybe even more than if you would hire a medium-sized company. Now, large companies are kind of enterprise companies that they have these meetings, and they can be very, very expensive, but they will certainly deliver on time, certainly do what you ask them to do. And maybe they will have some other departments too that you can tap onto, like marketing and all of those other stuff that you might not think of when you are trying to build out your app idea. Okay, next up is know what your customers want. So know what your customers want. You have to be really precise on this, because otherwise you are just building another sandcastle that will be blown away by the next tide. So make sure you are building your app for a customer, and make sure that you are building your app first and foremost for a paying customers. That could be an ad, so they don't really pay for that revenue stream, but make sure that you are having the cash flow right off the first day settled. Okay, now next up is take a look at that development company past experience and maybe their rich portfolio. Now, this could be just one app. Some development companies are working on an app for maybe years or at least 1 year. So if that app or those apps are wonderful, they work, you download it from the App Store, you mess around with it and it looks really nice, they have a nice user interface, then that is a very, very good sign. Now, you can't really take a look at all of the apps or all of their experiences throughout their finalized apps from the App Store. You have to ask or maybe investigate their past experience. What did the developer do? What is their experience? What do they like? This could be done in a meeting or something, but make sure you dive deep into their culture. What do they know? And just so you know what you are facing as a team that has been working for maybe years. It could be just a few months, but you know that you are satisfied with that. And finally, tip number 5, have a meeting. Now, I can't stress this enough. Many hirees, they just go out there and just email everybody, and they expect to just have all the answers through these channels. They could be great, and when you just email, you are not that distracted. Well, if you check on email every 2 seconds, then you are distracted, but it's just one channel. It doesn't really convey their passion, their values. So you have to have a meeting with your development company, well, with the representatives. Maybe it will be just some marketing guy or girl, or maybe it will be with a developer too. So you have to have a meeting to kind of smell and taste that development company. Okay, that is it if you want to hire. Now, if you are a development company or you are a developer yourself, then you want to get hired. Okay, you want to get hired and you want to take a look at these tips because, and this is the first and the most important that I want to share with you and I can share with you, is that you want to choose wisely and you want to know your value. Now, many of my friend developers and that I know of, they kind of tend to underestimate their value because yes, we learn and things keep on getting easier. You just say, okay, this is just 2 lines of code, but you tend to forget that for those 2 lines of code, you learned and worked your bum off for months to be on this stage, and you weren't paid for that. Maybe you were, of course, if you learned through development while you were paid, but maybe you weren't. And you have to know your value. You have to charge for that too. Now, the first one, this is about value. I should have started with choose wisely. Yeah, you should start with choose wisely too, because you have to choose between your clients. You don't want to jump on the very first one. You have to be careful which one you choose. Of course, this is kind of trial and error. You want to do catch try because you don't want to end up with a bad client that is demanding more and more. And do keep in mind, you want to sign a contract. You don't want to miss that. You want to sign a contract with specifications on what they want you to build out, nothing more, and of course, nothing less. Okay, so you want to choose wisely. You want to get accustomed to the red flags. If no contract, that is a red flag. No proper English knowledge, that is a red flag. No wireframes, that is a red flag. So keep in mind, and of course, you have to rinse and repeat all of these experiences. Okay, let's move on to tip number 2, be transparent. Now, this is kind of a hard one to swallow because when you are putting yourself out on the marketplace and you want to say, okay, I know this, and you want a good look, you want to impress your employer, but you don't want to oversell. You want to be transparent of what you know and what you don't know. And that is a really powerful tool because that builds out trust. Now, if you will say that, okay, I know this one, but I don't know this one, but if you agree, I will learn and do that for you, that brings up the trust level really, really high. So that is one thing you want to do. And of course, trust is everything. We are in an internet world. It's just kind of the screens between us. So that's how we most usually communicate. So trust is very, very important, and being transparent is one way to build that trust up. Okay, next up, learn negotiating skills. Now, you might be wondering, why do I want to learn all of this other skill too? Like, I'm a developer. I just sit down and write code. Just tell me what to do and I will do the best work that you could imagine. Now, if you don't have negotiating skills, like persuading other people that you can actually do the job, you will not get the job. So the first step in getting hired is persuading the other person that you are the perfect candidate for that kind of job. After you do that, you have to deliver. That's about coding. But you have to have these soft skills. You have to communicate your skills. You have to talk with people to persuade them that you are the perfect guy, okay, or girl. Okay, let's move on to tip number 4. Learn while you're doing. And more importantly, if you could do that, learn while you are getting paid. Now, that is really, really important. You don't want to just learn some book and, okay, I know this and this and this, and then you enter the marketplace and advertise yourself with these kinds of skills, and you just kind of wait and kind of jump up on those opportunities that you already know. You always have to learn new stuff. And I'm not talking about, okay, Swift, the newest version of Swift came out and there are just a few extra stuff that you need to learn. New stuff, like new functions or something like that. You have to dive into other areas of development, maybe authentication, maybe databases, maybe new algorithms that you want to check out. I don't know, other stuff that you already lack knowledge of. And while you learn while you are doing means that you should just build out your hobby projects or maybe just a test project that you want to learn of. Doing is key. Or you could just go and make yourself hired for a project that you kind of know, but there are some gray areas that you still need to learn. And if the client agrees that you will learn along the way, you just learn it and do the project, do the learning while you are getting paid. And finally, tip number 5, have a meeting. Yes, I know that it's kind of the same, well, it's basically the same tip as with the other part. You have to have a meeting. You have to have a meeting to know what your employer wants. You have to have a meeting to sell yourself. You have to have a meeting to get to know the other part. It's not a rigid company. They are people too. I know it's kind of counterintuitive that you just want to code, but you have to have these skills. You have to talk with them. You have to get your ideas through. Maybe help them with questions or ask them questions. What do they want? You have to smell out the rotten eggs from the nest, because you don't want to get hired by a bad employer. And finally, you have to have this first meeting, and of course other meetings too, because you want to have the smell and taste of who are you going to work with potentially months and months to come. So now you know some useful tips and tricks on how to hire and how to get hired if you are an iOS developer company or if you are a developer. Now make sure to hit that notification bell, because in my next video I will be talking about the brand new UI collection view controller from Apple. That's right, they released a brand new way to deal with UI collection view controllers. So while you wait for that, make sure to check out these videos as well too, and hit that like button. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and as usual I will see you in the next one.